ingenuity, perseverance, the trademarks of a digital artist. Embracing the future of art and thriving on creation. Holding on when others lose hope. Finding a voice among rapid change. Standing out, standing up, and continuing forward.
GM, Fomoverse Radio. This is your show host, Austin Hamilton. Today we have special guest, RogerDickerman. What's up, Roger?
Man, that was great. That was great. You go in Bruce or Michael Buffer.
Yes.
Pick your preference.
100%. UFC,
Excellent.
Baby. Well, yeah.
It's an honor to be on, man. We go way back.
Way back, man. You're a true OG, a legend, Artifacts creator, founder, what you have it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, well, I think we found NFTs just about the same time. So we were talking a little bit off recording, mid 2020, just doing the deep dive. I actually found NFTs first as a token of provenance to a physical at an auction house. And I was interested in the tech. I started doing some research that summer. I think I found a newsletter that a lot of people found, which was through Pomp, and it was digital art, something about digital art, and talking a whole lot about Ferocious, which was an artist that he had invested a lot in. Mm-hmm. And I was immediately fascinated by the discourse around that, because that was the other way to look at an NFT, right? It was not provenance. Well, still an item of provenance, but much closer tied to the actual digital. You know, a lot of people could combine the two logically. So I remember finding Nifty Gateway. That was my first home. I approached it strictly as trading NFTs. And I remember seeing the first Ferocious drop there, the first Beeple drop there. And then I finally, by the way, I tried to fast click both of those and epically failed because I did not understand that there was so much growing demand around these things.
The website would just crash.
It would just crash. There was all sorts of inexplicable things happening at the time. And then finally, I got my hands on my first NFT, which was Slime Sunday's Last Stand in the Nation State in November of 2020. And that was by the way, $40 open edition, which was minted just over 400 times, which at that moment felt huge and crazy big and preposterous, and how times have changed.
How could you have 400 mints? That's just insane. Now you have, million mints or... just crazy amounts. So I remember Fiwo's first drop, and I think I was going for Shattered Glass because it had the most. I was like, okay, I'm going to go for one that, it's not like a supply of 5. It's not a supply of 10. Maybe I have a little bit better chance of getting it. And literally just as soon as I clicked it, I think it was sold out or like the website crashed. But yeah, no. And then I was trying to buy these nice NFTs. I never could until Blau and Slime Sunday, like I said, Slime Sunday, had their collab on Nifty Gateway. Lost in Tokyo. I'll never forget. Mm-hmm. I tried to buy it, okay? And I think the same thing happened. Like, it crashed the servers. And I called up my buddy and I was like, hey, Dave, me and him we were first getting into NFTs about the same time. I'm like, hey man, I don't think I'm gonna get this. The website's down. It's over 5 minutes. I think it was Nifty Gateway's first ever timed open edition or something like that. And he's like, no, just keep trying. I clicked and then I got it. It was $100 and I was like, oh my God. That's my first NFT, and the rush was just insane. I'll never forget that day.
There were some big rushes then. I mean, it was all happening really, really fast around that time period. And I think Nifty Gateway was the home of the hype, right? And we had all these other sites. I mean, I remember finding Maker's Place around the same time. And Maker's Place I always enjoyed for the art side. I would go there for a calm experience. I would go there. I think they had a beautiful gallery browse. The way you browse art over there was just very enjoyable, was calming. The way that their market, which I think helped and also hurt them in the longer run. The way their primary and secondary was set up, it wasn't quite as smooth. It was kind of a little clunky, which again just put the art up on a pedestal. But Nifty Gateway was where you came for the hype. That was where you set your alarm clock, and that was where everyone developed their own clicking strategy. You know, some people figured out that tablet screens and, you know, the best internet and bots, of course, came into the picture in pretty short order. That was the Wild West day. It's still Wild West, but that was really the Wild West days.
Really, really Wild West. I remember hearing like some announcement back then too. It's like, I think it was Tim Duncan or one of the Duncan twins or whatever that, you know, was running Nifty Gateway with the Winklevoss twins.
Duncan Cock Foster. Tim Duncan's a basketball player.
Okay, yes, Duncan, one of the Cockfosters, put out a tweet, and he was like, "Hey, if we find out like you guys are doing bots or anything like that, like you will be banned permanently." Like,
yeah,
and I feel like people still were doing it because, you know, like there'd be these drops and like instant sold out, and I'm just like, there's no way like they can sell out in like less than half a second. But I mean, who knows? But yeah, those were the good days. Those were the glory days. I remember like I could navigate like I knew like each artist that was on Nifty Gateway. Now, since they like integrated OpenSea and like all these PFPs, like there's no freaking way like I could navigate like know each single project and each single artist on that platform. I think it was almost like a mistake, but I guess they were like trying to ride that like OpenSea wave at the time, like integrating all that together. Because it used to just be like so exclusive, like they would have like 1 to 2 drops a week, and you know, it was like, okay, you know, I'm waiting for this drop Wednesday, but now it's like, you know, 5 drops Monday, 20 drops Tuesday. Like it's hard to keep up with all this action now, man.
Well, I remember if we take a step back now with the benefit of time, everything again becomes a little calmer, easier to digest, easier to think like what were they doing? And I think in that case, like they are a marketplace, right? And a marketplace is a lot about volume and a lot about tools, right? Not a lot necessarily about strict, slow art curation. And I think that they had the benefit of some amazing individuals who are still tied to a lot of artists. You know, big love and shout out to Tommy K, to Ashley, Matthew, who's still there, and many others. But they became synonymous with artist relationships, and I think that benefited them for a long time. But in the end, again, you're a marketplace, and it's a lot about volume, and it's a lot about building the tools out and making things accessible, and that's the route that they followed. So that was a bit of the golden era. In fact, I remember as that golden era was sort of getting its page turned, there was one day where, correct me if I'm wrong, I may get one of these artists wrong, but there were decidedly 4 artists dropping on the same day, not just the same week. It was the same day. And if I'm not mistaken, again, I might get one of these wrong, but I think it was Pac earlier in the day. And then later it was Xcopy, Xsulo, and Justin Maller. It was like the most absurd. Blau might have even been involved that day or a day around it, but it was this absurd peak moment. And then of course everyone realized like this it can't continue at this pace.
Yeah, no, I think I remember that. That was one of Xcop. Was it the Afterburn drop with Xcopy, or was
it's possible?
Was it the one that was the Overlord, or prior to that? It's funny. I totally fumbled Afterburn. I actually went in with somebody on it, and it was $999. I was like, okay, like this is cool. I get it. Like he's very unique. Xcopy. Like I don't see any other glitch artists out there. Like maybe this is something.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I bought it. You know, not gonna lie, hoping that it was gonna do something. And it hit like 2,500. And my partner that I got in with, I was like, hey, you know, it's at 2,500. Like, I'm not sure, like, where it's going to go from here. And they were like, okay, whatever. Like, if you want to sell it, like, you can. Sold it for 2,500. Literally right after I sold it. I always sell at the bottom. I don't know why. It, like, went all the way up to, like, 20 grand or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember talking to them, and I'm like, hey. It was, like, a week later. I was like, you know the work that we sold by X copy? They're like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, yeah, it's selling for like 20 grand right now. And they're like, why did you sell? I'm like, no. Like, we had a mutual agreement that we were going to sell it. So, like, don't come at me. But yeah, no, that's one of my worst fumbles that I've had in the past. But you know what? Like, you can't always win. You can't always guess the top, you know, if you're trying to make a flip or whatever. But yeah, no, that's one of like my early fumble days.
We all have them. We all have them. I have one on the release prior, and I just I didn't fully understand X copy yet. And so the release before that, it was Bottom Feeder. I think it was the first his first release on Nifty Gateway, and I got one of the bottom feeders, and it was I didn't. Yep. There. Oh, yep. Oh, you're gonna send me into
Max
all of the
Payne.
feels.
Max Payne. Yep.
That's right, Max Payne. But but I even remember. I knew at that time that there was something there. I was intrigued. I remember looking at each of the works of his that were available during that release, and so I was specific, and that was the one that I wanted, and I was excited about it. But at the time, I was in trading mode. That was trading mode NFT zone for me, where I just thought I have to at least consider selling this at some point, having this listed. And that was probably around the time that began to change for me. But Bottom Feeder was definitely one that I sold far early.
Look at that, 350. Did you buy it on primary?
I did. I bought it on primary. If I didn't buy it on primary, I bought it primary night for just about primary cost. But I'm pretty sure I bought it on primary.
I dig the fact that you're open to like flipping things. Like, it's not like a sin, you know, like too many times have I seen people on Twitter come at like in the wrong way. Like, you know, maybe they are, maybe they're trying to pay some bills or something like that. Like, you know, they're making a profit or something. And then you see somebody like bash them like, oh, you know, I can't believe you sold that. Or, you know, you're not in it for the art. And it's like, like, why don't you just let the person do like what they want to do? Like, it's their asset. Like, you're not going to get mad at somebody for like selling their house or selling like some special edition car. Like, it's their property, it's their asset. Like, they can do whatever they want with it.
And I think it's largely it's combinations of things, right? It's you do see some detrimental flipping behavior out there from time to time, where, you know, whether you see something that's unethical or whatever, we all see that. That's all happened. Sorry, Austin, do you hear my dog in the background?
That's okay. What kind of dog is it?
It's a Skipper Key Chihuahua. He's a little guy.
Skipper Key Chihuahua.
Yeah. They call this particular kind of dog. So he's a black dog, and he's a little fluffy. And the actual technical nickname for this dog is the Black Devil. So, you know, just to frame it up for you a little bit. This is there you go. Is it
kind of like this?
That's basically him.
That's hilarious.
How old is he? 2 years old. 2 years old. And he's a rescue, so we love him, but he embodies the nickname.
Is he the boss of the house?
Oh yeah. He's the second child. We have a 5-year-old and this second child right here. And that might as well be a picture of him. That's exactly what he looks like.
That's so cute. He's lucky to have you, Roger.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
But sorry to divert the conversation to Skipper Keys, but to get back to the flipping thing, I think that a lot of that conversation stems from either those who view something unethically and then lump flippers or traders all into the same category, you know, and or there's a little jealousy out there. Sometimes people see X, Y, or Z happen, and then that comes into play. The reality is that, I mean, none of this would have grown to the level it did today without all aspects of the ecosystem. I'm very fond of talking about a healthy ecosystem. And I think in a healthy ecosystem, you do have some amount of that type of thing going on. And ideally, they behave ethically, and that's great. But otherwise, quite frankly, it wouldn't exist like this otherwise. So that's how I prefer to look at it. And I think in the early days for me, again, I was really I found NFTs as an extension of crypto, and I was looking at it just through the trading lens. Very quickly for me, as I started to form relationships with artists and advise some artists and do that kind of thing, founded Artifacts, a lot of that stuff. You know, I really did my directional arrow swung all the way away from short-term trading, flipping, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, and like you said, like I think it's really healthy. Like it made the ecosystem, made NFTs and crypto and everything what it is today because of all the activities that have happened. And I think with some of these important artworks or some of these creations, I think it was necessary for some of the flippers to get out in order for some of the diamond handers to come in and some of the more collectors to step in and stuff like that in order for them to obtain the works that they did. So anyways, we will move on to artifacts. This is something that you founded. You started this project, I guess I can call it, early on. What was it, 2021?
Yep, early 2021.
Okay, and then your first artist, let me see here if I can pull this up.
Yeah, are you going to nail it? Are you going to get it? Token ID number 1?
You're really making me push here. I think I came in right when I think it was Parrot. It wasn't Parrot the first one, but like I started coming around watching artifacts like when Parrot first came out. Justin Mahler was after Parrot, if I remember right.
Justin was before. He was before.
Oh, he was before. Okay.
Yeah.
So was it then the first one to the left over here, up at the top left?
No, this is just a partial. So we have lots more than these. But token ID number 1 is technically the great Too Much Lag.
Too Much Lag. Okay.
And the first ever sales night of artifacts was 2 artists. It was token ID 1, which is Too Much Lag, and then number 2, which is Bill Ellis. And they released together on the same night.
I got to meet Bill. He's a great guy. He was at the Scotland Castle party for Trevor Jones. And I just walked right up to him and his wife, and it was my new fiance was with me. And I was like, hey, dude, I don't think you know me, but like I'm a huge fan of your work. I seen your work early on in Nifty Gateway, and I've been following you, and I just want to let you know you're a badass.
Bill Ellis is the best. I consider him a good friend. I'm kind of jealous because we actually haven't been able to meet yet. He's not spent too much time over in the U.S. and then same for me to his area. So hoping that changes in the future. But he's a really, really special human being.
Yeah. And I really love seeing the originality there. Like something that really intrigues me with some of the artists, the OG artists and newer artists is something like I haven't seen before. And I feel like he definitely hits the head of the nail on that one. It's just, like the skulls with like the golden snakes coming through and stuff like that. That just, it really pops off. The gold, the shiny lights reflecting off of it. He's a very talented artist. Man, you've had quite the talent to come onto your platform, man. I mean, it's truly just some of these OGs in the network here just sharing their work with your platform, and just I've seen your stuff. I think it was at NYC NFT. Like you guys did some thing. I don't know if you guys recently did it, but maybe it was the year before or something. But man, you got a name for yourself, man.
It's been fun. I would start that chapter of my own story even a step before that with origin stories, and that's with Parrot, and that was in a video/podcast interview platform. Interviewed 67 artists to date, but that's where it began, and that was me saying at the time, this is an unbelievable moment where you have a lot of these artists who are extremely established in digital art, but are coming into NFTs for the first time, or have been here for a very short frame of time, and a lot of people are treating them like they're brand new. And that to me was a moment of reckoning, which is like, wait a second, there are long histories here. Let's explore, let's explore. And then short after, in early 2021, it took that down, more of a I guess you would call it a business road. And that was artifacts. And it was me saying, I want to be here full time. I want to make a real mark. And 100%, I need that to be on behalf of and with artists. That was a very, very important thing. And so it was me saying, all right, everyone's going to want to be in here. Who are the trailblazers doing this thing at a very, very high level? And how do we honor those trailblazers and have we've loosely called it a historical time capsule. How do we build a historical time capsule of this moment? And by this moment, I mean this span of, let's say, 3 to 5 years. But how do we build that time capsule? And so a lot of the decisions we made as Artifacts was, okay, I'm going to do it with 100 artists. We are going to have a really strong smart contract. You can't bring fine art fully on chain, but we're going to do the next best thing and really consider that at a high level. I'm a huge believer in 3D and the future of mixed reality. And so a lot of it was, okay, how do we take an initial concept of an artist, which is their one of one? We collaborate on a 3D object, and that's our art director is Dirk at Work, the fantastic Dirk at Work, a true OG in the 3D and VR creation space. He's our art director, so he collaborates with the artist to birth it in 3D. And then a little ways down our road, we started taking that and building an immersive game engine in Unreal Engine 5, and we used that as an art exhibit for that 3D. So it goes one of one, 3D object, and then an entire immersive experience around that 3D object. That's our model.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was gonna bring up. I think Artifacts was like the first digital asset that I seen that was 3D. You know, I never really interacted with anything prior to that. That you could actually click on the asset and like move it around and look underneath it, look on top. Like that was really new school for me. So kudos for innovating, building on top of the existing technology that was currently out and making something different to separate yourself from everybody else's stuff. So
the magic of 3D, I think it's a work in progress. I remember talking to someone who was a friend I consider very smart at the time. And just before the launch of Artifacts, I was talking to a bunch of people that I respect and just riffing on the concept and getting some feedback. And I remember him saying, you know, I have a lot of belief in this concept, but I think you're one cycle too soon. And, you know, my response to that was, that may be the case, but let's go see that next cycle, you know, like and really it's a lot about this concept of, you know, how do we bring fine digital art into 3D and into the future metaverses in a really interesting fashion. And it's allowed us to do so. I think between our releases, we had a collaboration with Time Magazine and Deepak Chopra, and we've done a few other things. But among all of those, we've birthed about 50 digital sculptures. And, you know, that road will not stop until we're at 100. And then you add in some of the collaborations outside of it, we'll be over there. That to me keeps me up at night, because just to think, you go over all the artists that we've talked about so far and so many more. You throw in the Victor Mascaras, the Raf Grassettis, the A Lot of Moneys, the Coldies, the Brian Brinkmans, the Loronas. You start to throw all of them in, and closing my eyes, I see this big sort of King's Hall. You know, you could think of it old school, like a Game of Thrones thing, but you think about something very grand. I think what's so interesting about 3D is that those objects are scalable. And like you said, that they're scalable. You can rotate them. You can look under them. There's some Easter eggs under there sometimes. Michael Johnson's skateboard has a signature on the bottom of the skateboard if you turn it upside down. All that stuff's super cool. But thinking about it as this long, large King's Hall with 100 of the greatest digital artists to do it, all in that space, birthed in 3D, like that to me is the image that's never stopped resonating.
That's beautiful. Well, I can't wait to watch you continue your vision and building on what you're currently working on now. And that leads into my next question, as what are you working on currently? Could be with Artifacts, could be personal life, could be, you know, you're looking into trading shit coins. I don't know. What are you working on now?
Let me talk about my Pepe bags. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have Pepe bags. Respect if you do. I don't have Pepe bags.
Little
no, good. Like, hey, and I have a very neutral statement there. I think it's great, or you know, whatever. I found out a little late and sat on the sidelines for Pepe, but much love and respect. Yeah. So for me, it's obviously plowing on with Artifacts. We talked a lot about that. The other thing that's been interesting to me is figuring out how can we do certain things on behalf of others. And what I'm most interested in is creator-led pathways. And so I'm head of Web3 at Aku. That's Micah Johnson's project, and Micah Johnson's brand. It's become far more than a project. That to me is wildly interesting. Artifacts is also involved in art curation at Lucidia. That's Fuckrender's brand. and as well as we had done the Time magazine and Deepak Chopra collaboration. So those kinds of things are really, really fun and exciting to be a part of. And the future it's really interesting. We talked about the Wild West. We were in a more maybe aggressive form of that back in 2020, but we're still in it. And scale is really challenging. And it's very interesting to see, especially going back to Aku, it's like scaling and bringing, I think to this day, like why I'm involved there is one, belief in Micah, but two, I think it's the most powerful mission across NFTs. So across a digitally birthed character. So I just think it's a really interesting character IP that we can close our eyes and quite easily imagine X number of years from today, that character being in some phenomenal places.
Right when Micah Johnson came out with Aku, I didn't buy it. I really didn't know too much about him or, what his vision was or anything. But just seeing him come out with these next chapters and, watching the collectors rush in and getting them makes me feel good. Like, I myself don't, I like to tell people, like, you don't have to buy something to appreciate it. Like, you can still, like, watch it. You could still, like, look at nice art and appreciate it. Just because you're not buying in or selling, like, doesn't mean, like, you don't have to be involved or, like, pay attention to it. And that's one of the things, like, I've kind of taken a step back the past year just to, like, appreciate things. Like, even though, like, I don't have it in my collection, like, I can still be like, hey, that idea is pretty cool. Or, I like what that artist is doing with this. So I think that's something, maybe not you, Roger, but other people should kind of remind themselves, like, hey, just because I don't own it doesn't mean, like, I can't look at it and appreciate it. And
well, it's funny, Austin, you say that, because we've become so conditioned on socials. Sometimes it's influencer behavior, what we see, what becomes most visible or talked about, but we're so conditioned to feel like if someone's posting about something, it has to be their bags. It's just this, right. Oh, okay. Like, all right, what's your motive? Like, we're so conditioned to that. And it's such what's talked about. Every now and again, I will outright do a post along those lines. And I will say something like, I don't own these things or this thing, but exactly to your point. Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't have to go rush and buy everything. I can sit here and say, either I wish I owned that or I just want to tell you I saw this thing today, and no, like I may not be in there buying it, but I think it's really, really cool, really, really amazing. I hope things, and I think they will, it's like as hype cycles go up and hype cycles go down. I hope we do get to the point where it's not just an assumption that if you're talking about something, you must own it, you must have interest in it, you must have a burner wallet that's attached to it. You should be able to talk about art you love. Actually, one of the behaviors I've started to do more and more and more, because I think it's so interesting. And you see, I mean, we're speed running the history of art in NFTs, and a lot of times you'll see something, inspired by phases of historical art or outright ripped from, from different aspects of historical art. One of the things I've tried to do more and more in the past several months is visit more museums, learn more. I've been going back to a lot of phases of art. I've been even thinking about how I can talk about that more, but just this weekend I was looking at surrealism and just reading about how that phase of art was birthed and how it was walked forward and some of the artists that were involved in it. But that's fun. Like, that's just outright fun to me. And I'm someone who's always appreciated art, but I wouldn't call myself educated in art. And I've had a blast. I mean, through Artifacts, and I don't often talk about this, but a lot of Artifacts is co-curated with artists. A dear friend, a lot of money, who we had the honor of hosting the project. The late great, a lot of money, but we have the intent that his legacy never goes away. But he was like my Sherpa in understanding the true. You call me an OG. I'm not an OG in that. Not by my definition, at least, or the technical term. A lot of money was an OG. Xcopy, Coldy, Josie Bellini, a lot of these names, like, they're the ones. And then you go to some people who aren't even as well known, Da Vinci and so many more, Matt Cain, and on and on and on. They're the OGs. And so having someone like a lot of money spend time with me and open my eyes as to, sort of here are the historical trailblazers. If you're looking at it just from the aspect of who are the real pioneers here, that's mind blowing. And so I've had the luck and privilege and good fortune of being able to do that across a number of different topics with artists and artifacts. And now I'm hoping to do my part, continue doing my part, which is keep getting educated, spreading that education and spreading some of that inspiration to others.
Beautiful words coming from a nice guy, Roger here. I think a lot of these early artists, like you're saying, Coldy, X Copy, they all had a vision, and whether it like align with what the market was doing or like what was currently going on with NFTs, they had a vision and they stuck with it. And that's what got them to where they're at now. That's what laid down their road to success. And I think in order to succeed in the NFT crypto space, even with life, I think you have to have a goal. You have to have a vision and a mindset. And you just have to stick with it. And you just have to just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over. And it might not work the first time, but if you keep doing something like when you're first learning how to ride a bike, you're not going to just fall off once and be like, okay, I'm done. You're going to get back on the horse and take it down the road and just keep going and listening to others, collabing with others, building things like artifacts and different kind of platforms and seeing what works and breaking things along the way. I think that's what's going to keep us innovating, keep us moving forward in the space. And that's the stuff that I like to see. That's the stuff that gets me excited.
And that's the stuff that stands the test of time. And I like that you called out, so many of those true OG artists. I mean, they were minting things for, sometimes tens of dollars, not even 100 or more. That's inspiring because the fact that they continued to the point that they could explode in the parabolic NFT era suggests something. It suggests that they were creating their art for a much different reason than some, not all, not even most, but that some have created it in the past 2 years. They were doing it on an entirely different and time-tested premise. And that's like respect.
Yeah.
That's why I chafe at being called an OG. Like, I've been around for a while, but that's the class.
Yes, totally agree. So looks like we're right about at time here. So we will go ahead and wrap this up. It goes so quick. I'm sure we could go on forever, but people are busy. People got things to do. So again, Roger, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciated your time. Is there anything else that you want to share with anybody?
Let's see, Austin, next time we're gonna have to blow it out Joe Rogan style and do a 3-hour episode, so prepare, maybe some episodes down the line. And I say that I enjoyed this a lot, and I appreciate you having me on. To think that you're 50 episodes deep, and we go back, we circle each other every now and again, and it's been nothing but respect for your attitude, your approach, your perspective. I love that you highlight something as pure as saying, yeah, I can appreciate a work of art and have no buyer sale skin in the game. I just really like what this is or what it stands for or any angle you're approaching it from. So, hey, I'm excited to continue in this space with people like yourself, because I think that when hype is high or low, it's these kinds of people like yourself, I'm saying, that are really going to carry this thing forward. So let's go FOMO versus radio and Austin Hamilton.
Let's go, Roger. Thank you again for coming on the show, guys. Really appreciate your time. Roger, thank you again, and take care.
See you, man.